if you ask anybody who has any sort of credentials or knowledge in the field of nutrition and dieting, okay, what they're going to tell you is to eat as little processed foods as you can. Now, number one, they're saying as little as you can, not saying none at all, because they already know that you're not going to completely cut out processed foods and this stuff, okay? So that's a big problem, right? That's why they're saying that, okay? But what do they mean by processed foods? All right. Well, what they'll tell you is sometimes if they're telling you to avoid processed foods, right? But they're also telling you what you should eat is whole foods, okay? And what are whole foods? What are whole foods? Well, they're natural foods, right? I mean, nuts and seeds and berries and meat and potatoes and vegetables and all these things, they're natural foods, right? Now, just because something's natural doesn't necessarily mean that it's not processed. And let me explain that, okay? Because a lot of these foods, basically all of them are processed to some extent, okay? Like, for instance, your vegetables, like your broccoli or your fucking cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. These are all cruciferous, okay? What that means is they are genetically modified naturally by, like agriculturists and farmers throughout history and all these things, in labs and stuff, making these plants. And they've made these plants. And the same thing with, animals, right? We all know about selective breeding, okay? That's what they do with these animals. Now, that doesn't say, again, that it's not natural, because, of course, anything that grows or is alive is natural, right? They're not a product of anything done processed-wise in a laboratory, okay, even though maybe their breeding was facilitated in a lab. But it doesn't say it's not natural, right? And so the easy thing to say is, all right, well, it's definitely going to be better to eat, like, let's say, some super genetically modified fruit or vegetable, or, like some super sweet potato or something like this. That's going to be a lot better than, let's say, eating, like, what's another step up in processing? It'd be like pasta or something, right? That's pretty processed, given obviously the plants are selectively bred, as it said in horticulture. It's dang, I'm forgetting the exact word for it right now. Grafting, that's what it is. They're grafting different plants together, okay? And it works. It's natural. Of course, you got like real genetic modifying that's happening now, which is like, there's absolutely no way that you can tell me that that's not going to have some side effect. Can't tell me that, okay? So when a nutritionist or whatever tells you to eat less processed foods and more whole foods instead of the processed foods, they're really just giving you something that's kind of actually like maintainable, right? But that actually has that simple advice doesn't have any how do you say, advice for specific choices you should make outside of that, right? And so that, if that's all you're going with, and you don't have a it's like someone giving you an actual meal plan or whatever, you're left to your own devices, right? And so you have to figure out what's healthy and what's not, right? And of course, you know, there's like nutrient density, which is a very big thing that's obviously very beneficial to like look at when you're choosing foods that you'd want to eat, including like a diet or whatever. Even though a diet, as we all know now, is not exactly effective, because it's not fixing the root problem, which is your behavior, your eating behavior. Okay, and behavior is a verb. It's something you do. Okay, it's not something that I don't know, you participate in or something. I mean, I think that's kind of the idea, is like, I'm going to participate in a diet. I'm going to participate in a behavior for a little bit. Okay, and that's what a diet is. When really what you need to do is change behavior, right? And that's exactly why a nutritionist would give you the simplest advice, which is, look, the more you do this is gonna be better than what you're doing now. Almost certainly, because you're coming to a nutritionist. Now, of course, if you're like already eating healthy and you just like want help changing what you're gonna eat even better, you know, you'd be going to a nutritionist and then you'd be asking for like specific advice. You'd be like, yeah, I know, but like, you know, like which ones, is it like, is more vegetables better, or is less vegetables better, or is more meat better? You know, is carbs over fat more better, or how much protein should I be eating? These sort of questions that are, you know, able to give you more information, right? And so, but what I'm telling you right now is that that process looks like looking at the nutritional density of the food you're eating, okay? Deciding, and also looking at any negative health ramifications of particular nutrients or toxins or just free chemicals, compounds, and molecules and elements that are present in whatever food you're eating, right? And weighing all these things, and that's going to give you the right choice of diet. So it is whole foods, eating more whole foods and less processed foods. And when you understand the why behind that, which is it would seem that more processing has negative health ramifications. And that's so blatantly obvious if you just think about it, right? Because what is refining doing? It's making the food better to eat. Okay, what is making a food better to eat? Okay, it's making it more desirable to you. What is making it more desirable to you? It's making it more satisfactory to your pleasure senses. Okay, what is that inducing? It's inducing a drug-like effect to the food, right? So if you take somebody who's the only food they've ever had is, I don't know, milk from the cow and cow meat and, I don't know, some leaves and shit that were gathered outside, and then of course the cow meat, and maybe like potatoes or some shit that you're growing in the ground. And then you give that person a candy bar and they eat that, and they've never experienced anything that pleasurable, right? And all these processed foods, and you can go out and you can eat the most absolutely amazing piece of cake, broski cheesecake, specifically a slice of cheesecake from Olive Garden, dog, the Sicilian strawberry cheesecake, and they got a strawberry topping on top. It's just absolutely delicious. And it's the most amazing thing you've ever eaten, okay? It's become a drug, right? You've refined it to a drug. You've went into the lab and you synthesized and added all these compounds and made it into a drug. And that's what's happening right there. Okay, so, you know, man, does that mean that it's bad for you just because it tastes better? It's like, well, you could say that it tastes better because it's exactly what your body needs. You could say that, but then you got to look at things like the fact that sugar is basically a drug. I mean, you look at like rat studies, and they put them in a lab with sweet things, sugar and stuff, and cocaine and heroin, and nearly every single one of the mice chooses the sugar. Okay, and that says a lot, you know. It's not just because they don't have a propensity to use cocaine and heroin, because if you put a rat in a cage with cocaine and heroin, they will continually use the cocaine and heroin until they die. So the fact that they choose sugar over that is pretty incredible. Now the argument to that is that, yeah, it's pretty incredible that God's made sugar, right? And it's an amazing thing that God's created and given you, right? And you can look at it that way. That's a really good way to look at it, although it's a little bit ignorant, because we know about all the ramifications of sugar, you know, diabetes, and that's not an isolated incident. That's just a product of symptoms that build over time and over dosage use. So that's not an argument either. And you know, a refutation to that by me right now is that cocaine comes from leaves. Okay, it's natural too. And you're going to tell me that cocaine's good? No. Okay, so what have we learned here? Sugar is bad. Refining is turning natural foods into sugars by combining them together and combining chemicals with them through many different processes in a laboratory, and creating these foods that are highly palatable, meaning they make your palate sense feel very good when you consume them. But that's the same way that a drug does. It entices you in, but actually it's really, really bad for you, and it has really bad negative consequences. But because it's like a drug and you crave it, and it has such a profound effect on your palate sense, when you eat it, when it goes into your mouth and it tastes good, okay, that you completely overlook all the negative effects, you know, if you don't know any better. And you keep consuming these processed foods, and they slowly kill you over time. Okay, and that's the main takeaway. They slowly kill you over time. So the point is to, number one, start only eating whole foods. And then from there, you can start refining what foods you eat, depending upon how healthy they make you feel. Okay? And that's up to you, broski. That's pretty much it, man. That's all I got. I'm back, broski. I forgot to mention one last thing on the last one there. When you are combining highly palatable carbohydrates, and if you don't know, carbohydrates actually, scientifically, are all classified as sugars. Okay, what they are is carbon chains, and you'll have to look up exactly what the molecular structure of a carbohydrate is. Okay, and there's different forms, stuff like starch that's a storage form of energy in plants, is different than like a refined cane sugar or something like this, because of how compact it is and all these things. But the point is that when you have these refined sugars that are in bread and obviously candy bars and the coating that's on fried foods, when you combine those things with refining, which is what is that? The adding of chemicals and putting certain foods mixed with certain chemicals with in different laboratory processes and stuff like that, or simply adding a fat source to these refined sugars creates what's called a synergistic effect, and makes it even more potent at activating your palate senses in a good way. And that is even another layer on top of simply the sugar and the palatability of that. You add in other things and it creates a synergistic effect, causing not just let's say double the pleasure, but it can even threefold. You can have a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario when you have a synergistic effect with refined sugars and different chemicals you add to it, or fat. Okay, things like French fries. These French fries, if you ever look at the ingredients of a French fry, you think it's just a potato, right? No, there's a bunch of chemicals that they put in it, different stuff to break it down and cause it to be more palatable to your palate, your taste buds. And then they put it in seed oils, which are natural, yes, but very unnatural in the sense that they're gathered very unnaturally with GMO, artificially made seeds that they crush and refine in these big factories and extract, which is of course a laboratory procedure of processing, extract the oil from these things. These vegetables, same thing, it's all these things. And a thing that's known is that when you take these seed oils and you heat them up, and especially when you heat them up repeatedly, it causes different things to happen to the molecular structure of the oil, okay, that has negative health effects for you. And some of these things are even illegal and even made illegal worldwide. Okay, but of course, obviously, food processors and food retailers have a lot of different ways of getting around regulations and stuff like this. And of course, these regulations maybe, or even some of them, are put in place. And of course, I would say it's absolute negligence on the part of government nutritional advisors, or outright malevolence, which is criminal behavior on the part of them, advocating for these different things and probably colluding with different companies through regulation to promote different food ingredients. And of course, that's not any problem because people eat these things and the government's saying they're good and they eat them, okay? A lot of these things, and of course the government back in the day, and they wanted to use different resources and they wanted to provide calories and stuff like this, and there's war and depression and all these things that were happening. But it's absolutely non acceptable whatsoever. It's criminal behavior. You look at like the food pyramid and stuff, you know, and I mean, seriously, I mean, most commercials, drug commercials that you see on TV, right? Ozempic and, whatever else, you see them all the time, semaglutide, whatever. And they advertise these drugs. That's illegal in a lot of countries. And it's completely legal here. And they are the biggest funder of advertisement, I believe, on like regular TV. I'm not sure about internet advertisement. It might even be there too. But is that a good thing? And even past that, because we know that sugars, they're synonymous in my mind. Sugars are more potent than drugs, at least on rats in the laboratory when you test it. With these experiments where they put rats in cages and place sugar, cocaine, and heroin in cages, and the mice, almost all of them, choose sugar. So it's more potent than cocaine or heroin. I mean, can we not say that? I mean, is that not obvious? So, I mean, look, man, I'm not one to say that you can't eat what, or what you should eat, or what you have to eat. I'm not going to say any of that at all. I'm just here to let you know the information, man. And that's it, bro. So I hope that clears some things up.